you can take an old school 350, just a junkyard 350, do a couple of minor upgrades and have that thing compete with the horsepower level of a modern day LS. I'm here to say, watch me. So just as a reminder of how absolutely clapped out of a 350 this thing is, look at this. What do the mains look like on this thing, especially after that balancer doing what it was doing? Well, there's your main. She is torched. Now, the goal of this is to be able to have as much power, like I said, as a modern day LS. So a 5.3 liter, you're looking at maybe 315 horse. The old school LS is maybe 345 horse for like an LS1. That's the goal of this build. First off, we stripped the paint off the block and degreased it. Next, we're going to be doing some cylinder head work. That's right, a little bit of trickery in those heads to wake them up. We are reusing the crank, rods, and pistons in this application. We have all kinds of goodies that are definitely going to add 125 plus horsepower to this combination. Cannot wait to get started. So, without further ado, let's go. So these are your standard smog crap blah cylinder heads that pretty much don't spend a whole lot of time trying to rework the wheel here because it's just not worth it on these things. But if you are nickel and diming and you're trying to do what we are trying to do here, well, there's two tips right here to take these things from a stock blech head to what I would consider stage one. Here's our two things. First things first is going to get a nice little kit like this from Summit. This is going to set you back about $110. Springs, retainers, new seals. You reuse the locks that are in the heads. These are a straight drop-in spring, you guys. Nothing crazy. Take them out, put them right back in. Also, these are good for 490 lift now. So now we can actually run a little bit more camshaft, and we'll get into the camshaft here in a minute. But I don't want to go too much because these are a pressed-in stud. And check this out. This right here is your old retainer, which is about double the weight of what our new retainers are. Lighter weight, faster action, more valve train stability. Now we don't have to worry about floating valves at say 5,200. We should be able to maintain 5,800, maybe 6,000 RPMs. Now, here's number two. This one's a little bit of time for you guys, but it's gonna pay off in dividends here. Now, I want you to check this out. These ports are garbage. Notice this right here. That is so restrictive of any intake you're going to throw on it. But notice how you can see a gasket mark going around here. We're really close here. Look at how much distance we have right in here. So you are going to use that as your template, and we are going to grind to that edge and take this chunk out to get squared up ports. So now we can take any intake manifold that we find, and it's actually going to have a better chance of matching up properly. So I don't care if you're using something like this, like a flat stone, or if you're using the dingleberry hone. Doesn't really matter, I don't care. What I do care about is don't go super fast, okay? Don't put it on high speed. Either go medium or low, preferably more on that low side. And when you're sitting there, don't sit and just freaking go nuts and just get this thing going and your stroke is just super fast. Because what happens if the stroke's too fast? You ain't gonna last. Then you gotta take that sock, throw it in the hamper, and hope mom doesn't find it. And that's right, you know what I'm saying. So just nice, easy strokes in and out. Keep it at a medium speed, which is thumbs up right there for sure. So now what's up next is we're gonna clean up our mess, paint the cylinder heads, paint the block. Short block time, that's right. Crankshaft just showed up. It's been turned 10-10, ready to rock and roll. Now, before I even start putting things together, first thing I'm gonna do, check tolerances. So I got a main cap already torqued down, and you can see over there, whoop, I got a rod with the bearing in it, ready to rock and roll. Now, some of you guys might not have what I got here, so you're gonna end up doing it with plastic gauge, which is fine. I'm not gonna do plastic gauge, I'm gonna do it just like when I do a race engine. So, let's check out the tolerances. So this is a prime example of why I enjoy using a dial bore gauge more than plastic gauge. Plastic gauge is not gonna get you precise. You guys can use it if you have it, but this is the reason why I say use a dial bore gauge. Here is where we are at. On the mains, we are at 26. On the rods, we are at 16. That, my friends, that is way too tight. The mains, if this would have been like 21, 22, I might have let this go because this is just a stocker 350 that's not going to spin a lot of RPM, but the rods being at 16, no, not going to do it. I'm going to take the crankshaft back and I'm going to see if they can take about 5 out of it. So we'll take it from say 26 to about 31, and we'll take the rods from 16 to about 21. And that will open it up enough to where we shouldn't have any problems with any tolerances. John will be able to drive this thing. Main reason why is having it that tight, we have to worry about the bearings getting hot. And if the bearings start getting hot, you start getting problem with oil. And all it takes, my friends, is that bearing to just go eek against the crankshaft. You're gonna spin that thing. Next thing you know, you smoke the crank, motor's done, you're having it all rebuilt again. I do this first before I even throw a crankshaft in. Now, reason why, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some of this Driven, which has got zinc in it. It's great assembly lube. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna nail down each of these bearings all the way back. When you slide your camshaft in, if you think about this, as you're sliding it through, you're literally skim cutting to the next, to the next, to the next. By the time we get all the way to this very back one, you really don't have a whole lot of assembly lube on this very back bearing. And especially with a hydraulic flat tappet, or pretty much any freaking camshaft for that matter, we wanna make sure we have enough assembly lube, especially on those bearings. So I'll slide it through. I've already pre-lubed all the bearings. I'll slide it through, and right before it goes into the final bearing, its own bearing, I'll have it back a little bit. I'll drizzle a little assembly lube on that and then finish it out. That way we know for sure everything is lubricated right and we're gonna have a great break-in. Camshaft time, here we go. This is a Howard's Racing camshaft. It's a hydraulic flat tappet. This is one of their low lift rule camshafts. So we are looking at 460 on the intake, and we have 460-inch lift on the exhaust. Duration at 50 thousandths is 231 on the intake, 231 on the exhaust. Now, this is also cut on a 110 center line. So this camshaft, RPM-wise, in a motor like this, I would strongly say your red line is going to be about 6,000 RPM. Most likely we'll probably shift it safely at 58, but if you want to turn it that hard, go for it. I'll be very curious to hear the popcorn sound of this cam on that test stand. Nick is peeling the rings, the old oil rings and everything off those pistons. We're just gonna hit them with some of the carb cleaner stuff we have here, clean those up. I'm gonna throw the crankshaft in, and we're gonna get this frickin' short block together. there she be. There's the little low compression 355. All good to ready to go. High volume oil pump we're going to be throwing on here from Melling. Comes with everything you need. Shaft, stud, everything that's good to go on that point. And then short block's going to be done. And we're going to start moving on getting the long block together. All right, short block is officially done. Ready to rock and roll now. Now she's looking like an actual long block. So we're just going to, we got to set the intake on there just to see what it looks like. So we're going to have to do that. So, oh my God, it's a lion. That looks good. We got to pull the damn thing off anyways, and I'm going through and just letting the lifters bleed out and all that stuff. The lifters have been sitting overnight. They're all filled up with oil, ready to rock and roll. I'm going to clean the bottoms off, and I'm going to use some of the Driven assembly lube, which has a zinc additive inside of it. Two real quick things here for you guys when you're putting your motor back together. We're going to be reusing the stock push rods, which is fine. We're not having a ton of spring pressure, so I'm not worried about bending the stock push rods. You can get a plate of glass and take these and roll them. That way it's going to tell you, one, if they're bent. That is one of the biggest things. Number two, because this was a junkyard crappy kind of 350, I want to make sure that that oil hole that passes oil through the lifter and it's going to lubricate the rocker arms are nice and clear. So just give a little blast of carb cleaner, blow it out, sight down it, and make sure you can see nice and clear through it. If you can, you're good to go. Now on the lifters, also when you're putting them in, don't worry about, now you should be lubing everything up inside there. I have assembly lube in all the lifters themselves. But when I put it in, I spin the lifter. Keep in mind, a flat tappet lifter, it's a hydraulic or a solid, they actually have to turn and spin on a camshaft. It's not like a hydraulic roller or a solid roller where it's going to be fixed. They have to spin. So if you have anything inside your lifter valley or the holes that the lifters go in and you feel any form of a catch, you're going to want to address that before you put your lifter in. I already checked that before I assembled the motor, but that's one little thing that you're going to want to make sure. When we break it in, those lifters have to spin. Also remember on your rocker arms, hit them with some of the carb cleaner. Let's make sure that that little oil hole right there is actually opened and clear. You can see the reflection behind it. Plus, let's make sure there's no carbon and no nothing inside here, sludge and gunk. Clean them up. Let's throw them on. Why are you not putting on a full roller rocker? They do make some cheap ones out there for say $250, $300, something like that, like these comps. We're still doing a budget build. That could be your intake manifold. That's why we're sticking with these OEM style rockers. Now, let's talk a little bit about benefits of going to something like this, but you gotta make sure it's within your budget. And again, we're doing this on a budget build. We're gonna start from stock. On these, they will work, but you are limited in lift because the slot that's on the back right there, if you run too much lift and this pushes it down, to where the stud's coming through right here, that edge right there is gonna bite in to that Preston stud, and that is gonna uproot your stud. So yes, they do make a long slot version of one of these. Now keep in mind, when you start spending money and you just don't go into the rollerized one, spend a little extra money and get these if that's your choice. Because they do make a long slot, well then you're gonna be spending $100 and some odd. They make a long slot with a little roller tip on it. At that point, you're spending almost $200. Here's your difference. Metal on metal. So as it's pushing down onto that valve stem, you gotta kind of, I'm gonna overdo it here, but you're grinding metal onto metal. It's like as it goes down. Keep in mind as well, inside here, this is it. This is what it rolls on. So this goes bloop, inside there, and then this nut, as you can see, is not a perfect circle at all. What it does is, the circle's kind of crimped off like this, so as it tightens itself down, it has a little bit of friction to it. It doesn't allow it to back up. So these do work, and this will get you by. That's the reason why we're only running a camshaft that's around 460 lift, so we won't uproot besides the spring pressure. Now let's get into this full roller setup. Where you were sitting there in that slot, we're rollerized now. Everything's fine, everything's dandy, so there's less friction. Friction in valve train is horsepower robbing. Then you have your rollerized front tip. So as it's going on there, it's just rolling perfectly. So all of that friction that you're losing One thing it's going to gain you a little bit of RPM, but it's going to free up that horsepower that you're looking for, and that is huge. That's why a full roller rocker arm would give this thing, I would bet you money, just going from stamped OEM, sticking to a 1.5 rocker, you're probably seeing at least 10 horsepower. I might make more, might make 12, might make 15. And yes, this would definitely put us up, probably getting close to that 350 horsepower zone. But again, is this within your budget? I know you guys are thinking, how well did the intake ports line up on this with that little bit of porting that I showed you to do? Well, let's take this down inside there. There you go. That is not bad, you guys. So is it perfect like I would do a full port job and, you know, port match the intake to the cylinder heads? No, but being able to just do that little bit that I showed you guys on of just doing the cylinder head and that little corner edge, look at what you get. Is that going to add horsepower and help this motor breathe? Absolutely. So we're ready to put this thing on the test stand. This is looking good. And again, you guys, for a budget build, this is less than $3,000 in parts of where you'd be at right here to be able to get into that power level of, again, the LS world. All right, we got her on the test stand and it is looking good. Now, there's a couple of things I still have to do. I still got to go through and prime it. I still have to make plug wires. I have to change my fuel lines here around because this is going to have a 650 Edelbrock. We ended up finding it used. I have to go through and still rebuild that. So that'll come on. This is going to have a mechanical fuel pump. It's much easier running this. So I still have some things that I have to go through. So to answer your question, I'm sorry, you guys, you're not going to hear it come crackling to life in this episode, but hit that subscribe button and you will hear this thing come to life, because the next time you see this video of this little budget build 355, we're going to break the camshaft in, we're going to get it nice and tuned in, ready to rock and roll, and we're going to get John down, the owner of Orange Crush, who has been dying to have some sort of noise come out of this thing for over 2 years, and we will be able to fill that void on this next episode. So hit me down in the comments if you think this little budget build 350 or 355 is truly in that LS power world of a 5.3 or an LS1. And again, $3,000 budget. $3,000 budget, and this has got some nice pieces and parts in it. It's good enough that I will bet you money this car will run probably a mid-13. That right there is a lot of fun, especially for somebody just starting off. Mid-13s, you're gonna have a blast. So hit me down in those comments. I always love hearing from you guys. Till we see you again in the next episode, take care, man.